JD. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the invitation. Thanks for all the work you do to keep poetry alive up here in the mountains. I really appreciate it. Since you talked, this is sort of a tenuous connection, maybe. But did your hamburger have tomatoes on it?
Yes.
Perfect. This poem's called Tomatoes. I'm on a parapet looking down at upturned faces and voices rising like feathers in an updraft. I'm afraid of heights, but know I will fall, and in the knowing my fear is singed. My will is a skeleton bound by silver twine. On my cold wrists there are bracelets, inlaid turquoise with silver, hammered thin by a Hopi in Arizona, a boy whose face is wide and soft, who blinks each time a small hammer strikes. I once had a girl, once lived in the gray cosmos of her cigarette smoke, her dark paneled room, her gold brown eyes and face so finely wrought like porcelain. The way she brushed her hair down across her scapula and vertebrae left me weak. I thought I might turn to a feather and drift away. She had a friend whose name was Paige, who had a mother who did away with herself on the summer solstice, 4 bottles of pills while sitting in a chaise lounge by a thicket of tomato vines, overgrown and unkempt, the red planets so full and heavy, and Paige said every day that August she ate them with a pinch of salt. She said they tasted like nothing, nothing at all, like air, she said. So what I've realized over the years, it's funny, you write a book and you put it together and this amazing thing happens if it gets published. And then you start looking at it, especially when you read them out loud, you're like, boy, I have some really consistent themes. Even when you're putting it together, you sort of think you have some themes, but then when you read them out, you really realize you have some themes. So parenthood is certainly one of them for me. And then also, boys do dumb things, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. Of course, when they get older, men are stupid. Okay, so this is about boys. That's called A Day in the Life of Boys. At all hours, we ran wild through the neighborhood. Goal was a hockey net or a bucket to kick, or corny Paul's oak tree. The games proceeded and evolved. They lasted days sometimes. When we lost, we scraped knees, we bloodied noses, we ran home crying and rageful. When we won, we strutted down the apex of the street, psyched at our badassness. One day we biked to the dead-end field. We hunted grasshoppers, coddled them in our palms, let them launch back into the tendrils. Then Lucky Ray snagged a praying mantis, took her home in a jar, dropped her green akimbo body into an empty aquarium, built a twig and grass jungle gym for her to play on. For an hour we stared into her bland orb eyes. Then Ray tossed in a grasshopper, and we learned how smooth and quick she caught and ate, how quick and smooth the earth turns, because there was always a hunger, there was always a winner and a loser. This is called Serious Talk. And I guess there's a band called The Replacements. Excellent band from Minneapolis. And there's a song, one of my favorite songs called Here Comes a Regular. It's about hanging out in a bar. It's kind of all you need to know. Serious Talk. For my friend Matt. You and I settle in against the dark wood bar as The Replacements' Here Comes a Regular pulls us into the ease we used to know. In our late 20s, we are sage men who talk of big things. Summer plans, grad school, women and their complaints, and then, eventually, solemnly, because we are serious dudes, our parents. How when they're gone, they're gone. The absurdity of it. Where the hell did they go? and how lonely or inscrutable they were when they were here, when they still wore shoes, not those final casket shoes, the ones with scratched and burdened soles, which, come on now, is a word we are too wise to consider a worthy symbolic homophone, so hokey and overdone. And we confess to each other, how lonely are we? Pretty damn lonely. Mostly when the season is brutally cold or killer hot, when our lives are chugging onward, but no one comes knocking or pens us a letter. We sip the Bass ale from the bottle, taking our medicine, doctor's orders. We are through with purge and drama, with idiot, intoxicated weeping and wall punching. We are done with driving fast and drunk down blurry streets. Like Bishop says, the art of losing isn't hard to master. We've had lots of practice. That's funny. We've had lots of practice. An hour glides by, then another. The buzz washes over us with a sweet rocking undertow, and the place is suddenly packed and loud. We run our hands along the smooth shores of the fine wood and order another round. Maddie, you and I are brothers from Buffalo, New York, and like all men of this city, we drink to make it feel less like disaster, drawing up vague but earnest plans to forge and hammer a silvery booster rocket to someday blast us into a most flawless orbit. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Okay, Mike only wants me to read one more poem.
I didn't say that.
So I'm going to read two more poems. And then stop being selfish and let other people read. Here's a poem about an ex-girlfriend, along the lines of tomatoes. This poem is two triolets glued together, so we get 16 lines this time.
Did you want triolet?
Yes.
Triolet out there.
And it's about an ex-girlfriend. It's about a woman I dated very briefly in my 20s. Title of this poem is Muppet Baby Sylvia Plath. So at the same, both coal-eyed and dough, she sips on her beer, smolders me from the kitchen. I am 20 years old and by no means a pro, and she stares a slice through me with eyes coal and dough, like I'm some contestant on her sex gong show. Then she judges me, surprisingly, acceptably bitching. So at the same, both coal-eyed and dough, she sips on her beer, smolders me from the kitchen. I unslouch and pop up the back of my eyesod, moonwalk the linoleum much more John than Ted Hughes. Heat rises at me from her fawn-like bod. I'm popping the collars on my dark blue eyesod, a mating display of the late 80s bipod. That night, in my bedroom, she will shout bedroom news. I unslouch and pop up the back of my eyesod, moonwalk the linoleum, much more John than Ted Hughes. It's kind of a hard poem to read somehow, I don't know. And then an old favorite, this is from my first book, Umbrellas or Else, which is not for sale here tonight, although Mike Henry's books are. My book is very easy to get online from any of your favorite outlets. I recommend tatteredcover.com or bookbar.com or whoever your local bookstore is. I know that great thing to do for local poets is to walk into your local bookstore and ask them if they'll order you a copy, because that gets you on the shelf. That's at least for a while. So
Heartfire.
it's called what?
Heartfire.
Heartfire. There you go. And this poem is in this book. This poem that I'm about to read, as you can see, is in this book. It's an old favorite, and it's also a rhyming poem. It's not in form. It's just something I made up. Title of this poem is "Why We Don't Go Out." We don't likes to go into other folks' houses 'cause there's no telling what's we could find. There's pornographic magazines and often nervous, angry scenes and mouse leavings where we has dined. We don't likes to drop in on those others' lives when we don't understand all their gestures. They quakes with their lips and they shakes with their fists, and they tells us rude things about their sisters. We won't take a trip in a trailer with friends who routinely use means justified by their ends. We won't settle down to a tense game of bridge when the host keeps the hostess's head in the fridge. There's only so much sea that our peoples can takes, and it's too much to ask them old habits to breaks, and there's so much that other folks bring to the table beyond what is sane, beyond what is stable, beyond what is normally accepted behavior. So we look to ourselves when we look for our Savior. Thank you.